A native of Long Island, back in the big city, the Big Apple. That is Tobias Harris. He is indeed one of the 76ers essentials this year. Furkan Korkmaz on fire, especially from outside the arc, since the team has returned from the All-Star break. Fire get-up too from Furk, always a stylish dude. Another Long Island native, Danny Green, exiting the team hotel. The 76ers are off the bus. They are in the Garden for a second and final time in the regular season as the 76ers officially begin this crazy 6-game cross-country back-and-forth road trip. Welcome to 7-6 Live Countdown, presented by Tissot. I'm Brian Seltzer, Lauren Rosen. Hello to you. We are not on the road, and this is going to be a long, long trip for the Sixers. I love the fact, Lauren, that last night, the tone coming out of the locker room following the Sixers' blowout win of the Kings was that they took the approach that last night was the start of the road trip.
Yeah, Doc Rivers said that last night was truly the first night of the road trip. Tobias Harris apparently echoed those sentiments. When you think about it, Seltz, they left straight from the game last night. So they had to pack their bags. Everybody had their suitcases ready to go. As of last night around 5 p.m., this team was on the road. And if last night was the first road game, they certainly did their job to kick off what you said is going to be a long trip. But hey, we will be with you guys every step of the way. Looking forward to doing 7-6 Live. Regardless of where the team is, we will be right here.
To take some of you really inside the inner workings of an NBA basketball team, at least the Sixers, it's not atypical for the team, even when it goes to New York to play the Knicks or the Brooklyn Nets, especially if it's continuing on after that, which is what the Sixers are doing. They're going to be in Golden State on Tuesday. They actually fly from Philly to one of the New York area metropolitan airports. So the Sixers, a busy night last night. They got the win at the Center, 129-105 over the Kings. They get Ben Simmons back tonight, and they're getting on the road. And, of course, having Ben Simmons back under any circumstances, Lauren, is a great thing, especially when you're already missing one All-Star, an MVP candidate, by the way, and the best active three-point shooter in the entire league in Seth Curry.
Well, it's never bad to have a little extra juice on the second night of a back-to-back, as the Sixers would have loved to have Wednesday against Milwaukee. But to have Ben Simmons be your extra little bit of juice on the second night of a back-to-back, pretty exciting. Ben, of course, did not play against Sacramento last night, but the team had no problem handling Sacramento in Ben's absence with that left knee soreness. Joel Embiid still out with the left knee bone bruise. Seth Curry also out with the left ankle sprain, but I'm sure relief across the roster to have Ben back in the fold this evening in the Garden, where we talk about it all the time. Ben Simmons has never lost. He's never lost against the Knicks in the Garden. He's never lost against the Knicks at the Center. He has never lost against the New York Knicks.
It is a streak you would certainly love the 76ers to continue tonight. The Sixers going for win number 30 on the season. How awesome is that? They're 29-13. They're 5-1 since the All-Star break. They haven't played a single game with both Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. We know this from just last Tuesday. This Knicks team is tough. They are 21-21. They bounced back for a win. They eked out a 1-point win over the Orlando Magic on Thursday, so they've had a couple days to recharge and reboot, and they're going to be at home. And I got to believe, Lauren, that they have last Tuesday's game, a 3-point-6er come from behind win in the fourth quarter, very fresh on their minds.
Yeah, no doubt about it. This is going to be a Knicks team that's hungry for some revenge, and a Sixers team that's going to want to continue, let's say, their road trip on a high note. I'm looking forward to this one, actually, Seltz. If Tuesday's matchup was any indication, I think this will be an exciting one. The Knicks, of course, better than they've been in years past, even though the Sixers have done a good job of late against them. Still an exciting opportunity to see Tobias Harris and Julius Randle face off once again. More on that later. I'm really looking forward to this one tonight.
So about last night, the Sixers left no doubt they crushed the Sacramento Kings, winning the game by 24 points. They led by more than 30. They led wire to wire. From the beginning, you could tell the Sixers were locked in, and the Kings were the opposite of whatever being locked in is. They are the worst defensive team in the league, and the 76ers made them look like it. Danny Green, active on the hands team early. How awesome was this connection between him and Matisse Thybulle to get the crowd going, get the 76ers going, and 11-2 run to start the game, Lauren. The Kings needed timeout, and they really couldn't recover after that.
You're right. It was great to see this group, a group that really has not played many minutes together whatsoever in this starting lineup that included, of course, regulars Tobias Harris and Danny Green, but joined by Tony Bradley, Shake Milton, Matisse Thybulle. This is not a group that necessarily has a lot of reps together, and they came out firing on both ends. Matisse did a great job defending De'Aaron Fox for most of the evening. Shake Milton caught fire for the first time in a little while. Great to see him go off last night. I just was so impressed by the way the Sixers responded to this adversity. Absent maybe their three of their four top offensive performers, Seltz, is that fair?
I think that would be a fair statement. Yes, definitely a fair statement. Listen, their defense, they just created havoc. Sixers have been getting terrific production from a guy like Tony Bradley Jr. and Dwight Howard at the 5 spot in the absence of Joel Embiid. Tobias Harris flirted with a triple-double. Fantastic numbers from him. We'll talk about him in a little bit. And I love the mindset, Lauren, that the Sixers came out with. We talked about this during our Tissot Keys to the Game segment last night. The Sixers, how important it was for them to show no mercy, being well-rested, 2 days idle, regardless of who they had or didn't have. We didn't know during the show last night that Ben Simmons wasn't going to play. We found that out after the fact. But still, that the Sixers came out with an aggressive, purposeful mindset against a team that they should have felt empowered to go out and dispose of. I really was a big fan of that, and I think it speaks to parts of the identity of the Sixers team that we've seen form over the course of what's been a really strong year so far.
Well, Seltz, I know we're going to hear from Tobias Harris in just a couple minutes, but I do want to just highlight something that he said last night. He said it doesn't matter who they're playing. It doesn't matter who is playing for the 76ers. They want to beat every opponent that they play. Tobias believes that the team has built a winning culture, and I do think that that winning culture was on display last night at the Center.
If you're joining us late, we see some people in the YouTube chat. Yes, Ben Simmons is available for the 76ers tonight, trying to maintain an undefeated record all time against the New York Knicks. Let's hear what Doc Rivers had to say about his team's 5th win in 6 tries since the break last night.
You know, when you think about no Ben and no Joel and no Seth, and we score 129 points, says a lot about this group. But I thought it was more defense. You know, they are a good offensive team, and I thought defensively we were locked in.
Indeed, the 76ers were. Their defense has been such a calling card. But I think also, Lauren, 2 things that have stood out to me since the All-Star break. The 76ers' consistent three-point shooting, and not entirely unrelated to that, or perhaps making it even more important, is the fact that the Sixers have rebounded extremely well without Joel Embiid essentially for this entire post-All-Star break period. They're getting extra opportunities through their rebounding, and the three-point shooters, they aren't missing. And I think that's made the Sixers that much more dangerous here in the second half and has helped them get by despite being shorthanded.
For sure, Seltz. When we talk about rebounding and we talk about three-point shooting, when you look at last night's contest, this was the team missing their top rebounder and their top three-point shooter, and they still were able to get it done in both columns. The defense, again, has been incredibly impressive, whether the team is without Ben Simmons, without Joel Embiid, both bona fide Defensive Player of the Year candidates, or without both of them, still finding a way to make the defense lead the way. And it's been really impressive to watch this team deal with different lineups, different groups of starters, different groups of all-stars, let's say, since the break. It's been a pleasure to watch.
Well, at least they still had one all-star last night, right? Oh, they didn't. But the guy played like an all-star. Tobias Harris taking charge. Let's take a look at that line. Beautiful. How about that? Tobias Harris, fantastic for the 76ers. Listen, this one is on me. Did I dock him a point? No, he had 29. Sorry, I was looking at my Knicks box score, and he scored 30 against the Knicks last time. Who cares? Still a sterling stat line for our guy, the reader, Tobias Harris.
The reader. I love it. He's the machine. He's the reader. He's been absolutely phenomenal, especially in games where he needs to be. 2 assists shy of that triple-double. I asked him about it after the game, and he said he's not out there hunting triple-doubles. But had he been, I think he would have gotten it. And near a 30-point triple-double at that. He was just so good all over the place. crashing the boards, defending at a super high level, Seltz, which is something we know he's been focused on. Really cool to see him take over in a game where he needed to.
If I'm Tobias Harris, or if I were advising him, I would say hunt, young man, especially in a situation like last night. You know, Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid not playing, no Seth Curry either. Listen, I think in a game like that, if Tobias wants to go in a little bit of takeover mode, he has earned the opportunity if he wants to put something like a triple-double on his resume. But I love the fact how he's able to combine both an aggressive scoring mindset at 3 levels of the floor, whether it's driving to the basket, the mid-range game, or outside the arc, while also getting his teammates involved. I think that obviously in many ways is emblematic of the type of guy and player Tobias Harris is.
And the chemistry that the team is developing. If he can dish out 8 assists, a guy who's not necessarily a primary or secondary playmaker on this team, it's a good sign for how well they're getting to know each other on the offensive end and find one another in their spots. But yeah, Tobias was just so strong. I believe the Sixers have only lost 3 times when he scores at least 20 points in a game this season. He's been really strong on both ends of the floor and was super good in that last matchup against the Knicks, that's for sure.
Also super good at the podium, always breaking things down, very upfront, transparent, telling it like it is. This was Tobias last night.
You know, I say it over and over. It's just our mentality and our energy and our focus. Are we willing to fall into the distraction of, hey, we don't have 2 of our top dogs, or are we willing to embrace it? You know, for myself, I take that stuff personal when people believe that we can't win without those guys, because I know how much talent we have as a group, and I also know how well we play together when everybody's on and everybody's solid and everybody's healthy, and I know how well we play together as a team as a whole. We have a culture and a system here that works, and when we trust it and when we do what's asked of us, we're a hell of a team. So, you know, just following up with that and the energy into the game is key for us to be successful when anything happens. And this is a weird season where, you know, I've been out, but COVID protocol and whatnot, so you have to be willing to adapt to some of the, you know, roadblocks through this season.
Perfectly put. We're seeing this, and we've seen it obviously throughout this season across the league. Teams dealing with absences to key players, injuries to key players. Look at the Lakers right now. LeBron James is out indefinitely, but the Sixers have managed to hold down the fort. They're on the cusp of 30 wins. And I think last night, too, Lauren spoke to something that's really important about this Sixers team. You know, the Kings could have been in a situation where they were coming to the game feeling themselves a little bit. They beat Boston the night before, but the vets really stepped up and, whether it was intentional or not, sent the message of, we got this. We're good. Danny Green, right off the bat, bang with a couple baskets, some steals, got the Sixers going. Tobias doing his thing. Dwight on the glass. I think the veterans and their character, what they were able to do, really stepped up in an important way last night to set the tone and really get the Sixers going.
For sure. The unsung hero role is a familiar one to Danny Green. He actually talked about it after the game last night. But like you said, the way that he helped this team get out early in a very efficient way, of course, with those 3s in the first quarter, really impressive. And it was a good night for Danny Green to get the praise that he deserves as a leader for this team on court and off court. He really helped set the tone on both ends of the floor. You see him grabbing the steal there early to find Mr. Thibault.
I'm only going to say this because it's a shameless plug because I don't have the numbers in front of me. I'll look it up right now. But if you want to see the numbers, you can go to my Twitter account at Brian Seltzer and look it up. Some of the top 3-point shooters on the Sixers team since the All-Star break, Danny Green is one of them. He's knocked down 23s over the last 6 games. That's the most on the team. And he's shooting at 43.5% from outside the arc. Why a team like Sacramento would want to play off him that much, I couldn't tell you. But he did what he did, and he knocked down those shots. He's been great, along with Matisse Thybulle, Tobias Harris, and Furkan Lauren, really from the perimeter, helping the Sixers out in a big way.
I went ahead and pulled up your tweet while you were talking, Seltz, and this 3-point shooting has been just wonderful. You mentioned Danny Green, 43.5% from beyond since the break. Furkan Korkmaz, 46.7% from beyond since the break. Tobias Harris, 50% from beyond since the break. And Matisse Thybulle, 57.1% from beyond since the break. Really cool to see those guys figure it out from deep, because it can be so key for this team down the stretch if even just a couple of those guys continue to shoot at a level like they have been lately.
No doubt about it. Danny Green, he is a winner. 3 rings each of the last 2 years included in that. And he spoke about what he's learned over the course of his career about stepping up when a team needs him.
I just come in and try to do my job, man. A lot of that I learned in San Antonio. So, me learning from Pop, Timmy, Tony, Manu, but being around greats. I've been blessed to have some great teammates, some great coaches, even with Doc. I know that there's sometimes things everybody doesn't agree on, whether it's here or other places, but you find ways to compromise, find ways to work and build chemistry with teammates, coaches, staff, everybody, medical. So every organization I've been to has done an amazing job from the top down, from front office to the medical staff, to my teammates, to my coaches. And Doc has been great with helping us understand what he wants from us every night, whether who's healthy, who's not. Been a great job of managing minutes and bodies, and even though we haven't had healthy guys all the way through, but figuring out ways, lineups, and defensive coverages to give us a chance. I said early on, some things we weren't understanding, but now I think we all kind of come to some good terms and have some chemistry, not just with the players, but with the coaches. And we're starting to believe in it, believe in the system, believe in him. He's starting to believe in us. So, we've got to keep that going because we're going to need it. So with the bodies we have going down now, and I'm sure there's going to be some times where we have injuries throughout the season still. There's a lot of games left, but we got to find ways to win. We can't just feel bad for ourselves or sorry for ourselves because we have some people out and hurt.
Lauren, we've talked about this throughout the season, how it seems like whenever there's adversity, the Sixers seem to respond, generally speaking, whether it was during the COVID situation that brought them to the state of being the 76ers or dealing with Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons being in and out, Doc Rivers finding the right players to plug into the lineup. And I think that when you hear Danny Green talk about culture that's taking root and Tobias Harris saying similar things, that's a reflection on Doc. And it's interesting that within the last couple minutes, I know this because I set my phone on alerts, I'm sure you do as well, the president of basketball operations for the 76ers has weighed in. The estimable Keith Pompey from the Philadelphia Inquirer tweeted out to the masses, what was the Sixers' biggest offseason pickup? And Daryl Morey responded. He got in the mentions and he said simply, at Doc Rivers. I think what we're hearing is a reflection of that. I do think that Doc's just been hitting a home run and he's been pushing all the right buttons so far.
Well, there hasn't been much to complain about, Seltz, that's for sure. The system he's put in place, the culture he's put in place, the vibes that he's helped foster have shown through from opening night all the way through the adversity that you talked about, and it is continuing to shine and grow as time goes along. It's interesting, we just heard from Danny, but even Danny has told us in media that this is one of the strongest bonded teams he's ever been on, and that includes, like you said, 3 ring-worthy teams. So interesting to know that Danny feels that this team's chemistry is already ahead of schedule, despite the fact that it's a very new team and a new system under a new coach. And you have to imagine that Doc Rivers gets a lot of credit for that.
That's something that Furkan Korkmaz spoke about in an interview he did with Tom McGinnis for the latest episode of Tom's Talks on the 76ers Podcast Network. We played a bit of that last night. Here's a little bit more from T-Mac and Furk, 2 of the GOATs.
Do you get recognized when you're on the streets of Philadelphia?
Yeah, I do. I do.
Like you're a fan favorite a little bit, right? Do you feel that vibe?
I mean, I feel that after my first 2 years, it was a little different scenario, but last 2 years, yeah, it's totally different.
Makes you feel good, right?
Yeah, it makes me feel good. Of course, I like it.
Fans here are really special. I mean, even though it's not full capacity, the other night we saw the gamut. They were in love, and then all of a sudden, Giannis sits on the court, and boom, they were all over that. I mean, they don't miss a beat here in Philadelphia, do they?
Yeah, the point that I recognize Philly fans are back when you start missing couple shots or when you play bad defense, they start booing you, then, okay, here they come,
Right. No, you're I mean, not that you're sensitive, but like you say, you're out there, and
you are feeling them, definitely. That gives us a lot of energy. Yeah, they're definitely, you are feeling them. They're really supportive. Here is city of support, city of brotherly love, city of competition. So they want to see the competition. They want to see that blood on the court,
Right. speaking of support, Ben Simmons, your teammate, was very supportive and endorsing you, saying that you could play, or one-on-one unstoppable, even better than Nowitzki. That must have made you feel good.
Yeah, definitely.
You're not buying that?
I mean, you know how it works.
Dirk Nowitzki. But you have had that's one of the things I like about your game. Like you have the little floaters. You've really worked on that to bring different aspects to your offensive repertoire, if you will. Talk about that.
Yeah, sometimes when people knows what you can do, you gotta do something different, because after a couple games, even like us, when we scout somebody, we know like he's catch and shoot, he shoots dribble off the bounce, whatever. So they are taking those away. The defense are working on it, and then you gotta find some solutions to create something for yourself. Because sometimes the game is not coming to you, you gotta go get it, and sometimes the game is just finding you. And I'm trying to find like my rhythm on my mid-range, my floaters again. I know I'm really good like at catch and shoot, but I'm trying to do some pick and roll stuff this year, especially with the second unit. Me and Shake, we are handling the ball more than last year. I think that's biggest difference for me this year.
If we say Tom McGinnis and Furkan Korkmaz, that's just automatic consumption, right, Lauren? I mean, they're two of the best that are out there.
Just elite content from two guys, of course, with pretty different backgrounds, but you put them together and there's no doubt you are going to get something delightful out of it.
T-Mac calling this one tonight. If you're going to be driving around or you just want to listen to some great radio, it's 97.5 tonight. T-Mac with the radio call at 8 o'clock. Search 76ers podcast wherever you get your pods. Follow us wherever you listen. And that episode with Tom and Furkan went out yesterday. All right, so the 76ers and the Knicks for the third and final time this season. Same matchup as last Tuesday, but a change of venue. The Garden, one of the best places in America. I'm not ashamed to say that. It's terrific. They have some fans back in the building. And you got to imagine, Lauren, we talked about this at the top, revenge is going to be on the mind of the Knicks.
No doubt about it. That game was a close one. Tobias Harris, of course, with the late game heroics to push the Sixers over the edge for that 99-96 victory in the final minutes. This was a fun one, Seltz. It was a pleasure to be in the building, to see Ben Simmons get involved, to see Tobias Harris take it home at the end. It was just a good game, Seltz, but it couldn't have felt good for the New York Knicks. As you said, they're going to be looking for some revenge tonight.
Good to know that Ben Simmons is back tonight for a couple reasons, but he did a great job on R.J. Barrett, second-year player for the Knicks, and that is something that certainly you cannot put a premium on. And I thought Tobias Harris did a really nice job, all things considered, on Julius Randle, especially in crunch time. But Randle's a really tough player. I cannot wait to watch this matchup within the matchup. And also the Knicks, they're really strong defensively, so as much weapons as the Sixers can have on the defensive end to perhaps match that muck and grind tone that the Knicks play with, I think is a very good thing.
Well, at the end of the day, I think this Sixers team is objectively superior. It'll be a matter of who brings the best stuff tonight, who brings the juice on both ends. And someone who always brings the juice on both ends is this man, Dwight Howard.
And listen, we have a development with the Knicks since last the 76ers saw them. The Knicks have only played one game. It was a 1-point win against the Orlando Magic on Thursday at the Garden. But former 76er Alec Burks bumped up to the starting lineup. And he's not only scored 21 points, he had a double-double with 10 rebounds. I think any Sixer fan who followed last year knows how good Burks can be in a specific type of role, a bouncy, tricky cover. He's a guy that can be lightning in a bottle. And listen, if he gets going, he is definitely a threat.
He can make stuff happen. That is for sure, Seltz. But again, I like the Sixers odds tonight. I like Tobias Harris in that matchup in particular. I think let's get to that part of our show, if you don't mind.
Certainly. All right. It is. Let's check the time. Wouldn't you know, I'll get this one day. I got to go to my right across the body to show it. My Tissot Chrono XL NBA Special Edition. It says it's time. It's time for the keys to the game.
Let's do it, Seltz.
Presented by Tissot All right, Lauren, get it going.
Celts, I went with a little spice for my key to the game tonight. I said, be the better all-star. And when I wrote it, we didn't know what the status of Ben Simmons would be tonight. So when I was referring to an all-star, I was referring, of course, to Tobias Harris, the self-proclaimed all-star from the last matchup against the Knicks. You guys know how I feel if you watch this show. Tobias Harris is an all-star. He was the best all-star on the floor in the fourth quarter on Tuesday. If he can bring that same type of juice, I like the Sixers' chances. Plus, with another all-star and Ben Simmons on the floor, good things could happen for your 76ers.
All right, my key is keep on crashing the boards. The Knicks are a pretty good rebounding team, but the 76ers have not been out-rebounded since the All-Star break. Amazing to me, considering that they have not played a game with both Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid, top two rebounders on the team. So keep crashing the boards, get yourself some extra opportunities, get the balls out to those hot shooters, and let them keep on firing. That is my key for tonight's game. It is brought to you by Tissot, and we thank them greatly for allowing us to bring to you not just the keys to the game, but 7-6 Live Countdown. Before we get out of here, Lauren, tell us something good that the masses can see in their content feeds in the days ahead.
For sure, Celts. Well, it is still Women's History Month in the month of March. This week, I had the opportunity to sit down with some really inspiring women at the 76ers, from business operations, basketball operations, women from all sorts of different backgrounds. And it was such a pleasure to be able to be a small part in an awesome conversation. So that Women in Sports Roundtable is going to come out, I believe, tomorrow for your consumption, but stay tuned on the Sixers feeds. You'll be able to check that one out. And if you know any women that are starting their careers in sports, any women that are looking to get into sports, I really do think that this was a valuable roundtable, a good use of your time. I certainly learned a ton, had some major takeaways from this one, and I look forward to sharing it with our fans, our female fans, our men fans. I look forward to everybody getting a chance to see this one.
Love it. Cannot wait to see it. Great work, Lauren. Great work, Coletti and Trevor, per usual, on the sticks. We will see you, oh boy, at around 8:30 as we start to stay up late for 76ers basketball beginning on Tuesday when this road trip begins in earnest. All right, enjoy tonight's game, the start of the 6-game road trip. See ya.